marketing there. This is me. They're having some fun with my hair, the designers. Apologies for doing this in English. My Spanish is beyond bad. So if there's anything confusing along the way, jargon, whatever, it's a pretty small crowd here, so just stick up your hand, and I'll be happy to answer questions as we're going. You don't have to save them to the end. But I'm talking today about the convergence between search and social channels. Just wanted to start off with a big picture here, which is just our perspective that the search and social platforms are converging. They're really becoming one. And successful marketers over the next few years are going to be the ones that have really one unified team and one set of data. Historically, the search and social experts inside the company have tended to work in different departments with different sets of goals, different KPIs, different analytics, and we're trying to bring that, encourage them to bring that together because the platforms are kind of forcing the issue on that, and we've only seen the very beginning of that now, but we think it's going to become more and more important over the next few years. Key takeaways, if I'm at all convincing today, you will leave here thinking, one, I have to connect my Facebook marketing to my offline experiences, feed the metadata that feeds Facebook search. We'll get into this in a lot of detail later. Two, we want to bring our search and social efforts together. That means both people, process, and technology, right? So the way the business operates, the tools you use, as well as the teams. And finally, that you should really expect social search engine marketing and really an all-out war between Google, Facebook, and Twitter for the same ad dollars. So that's what we're getting into. Let's take a quick look back to last year, the convergence of paid, owned, and earned media on search and social channels. So here on Facebook, famously, you have all these new kinds of ad types coming out all the time last year. Newsfeed ad placements. You have your own channels, your brand pages, and your earned placement, basically, as users engage with your content, you get more viral distribution, right? Same thing on Twitter, paid, right there in the Twitter feed, owned, their profile page at the top, and earned, right? The conversation that they generate through the content they create. And much like these other channels, Google is doing the same. We have paid placements. We have owned channels, both in search and Google Plus sort of social channels, including here, I know it's a little blurry, sorry about that, but the recent post there is actually pulling content directly from Google Plus into the search results page on Google. And of course you have this earned engagement. Cadbury, the candy company, has over 3 million followers on Google Plus, right? So this is earned distribution again. 2014, let's look at today. Basically, there's no free lunch anymore. Here's founders of Google a decade ago talking about how the better a search engine is, the fewer advertisements it should have. Obviously, this isn't something they stuck to from those naive days. Today, most of that screen real estate at the top of the page for Google is taken up with various kinds of ad types. And I think any company you work for probably has a strategy for how they buy and optimize to those ad types, right? It's a huge source of traffic and revenue for almost every vertical. Facebook, sadly, for those of us who have been in the social marketing industry for a long time, has turned into the same. This is a picture from my newsfeed. You'll see right here, giant ad in the middle, and several ads on the right-hand side. So 5 ads just on my home screen in Facebook alone. So what we're seeing is this real taking over of what used to be an owned and earned media channel with a paid media channel. And in fact, now that Facebook and Twitter are public companies, more and more of their development, more and more of their engineering, more and more of their efforts are going toward this paid media placement, and they're giving less and less distribution to organic content. I think there's been a lot in the news recently about how Facebook organic reach for posts is down to 1 to 2% of your fan base. Adobe, we're lucky to have some pretty good, pretty engaging content. We're still seeing about 4% organic reach with our posts, but a year ago it was 16%. So I think the writing is on the wall for anyone who does marketing on Facebook. We need a good ad strategy, and our Facebook strategy really has to mirror our search strategy because it's going to be competing for the same dollars internally in our marketing department. And so, and the platforms are seeing this, and they're making technical advancements that are actually bringing these platforms closer together. So Facebook, Twitter, and Google are launching a lot of the same types of features because they realize they're competing for the same advertising dollar. So we're seeing social becoming more like search, search becoming more like social. For those of you who haven't used graph search, and maybe I'll stop here and take a quick poll, just quick raise of hands. Who has used Facebook graph search? So, not many. This is absolutely typical. I just asked the same question in Salt Lake City in America. About 25% of the room had used it. Here, we're looking like more than 10% of the room has used Facebook graph search. And it's a big problem for Facebook. People aren't using it much because it's not in the mobile app yet. It doesn't work in most languages yet, which means it doesn't work in most countries yet. But this is very much meant to be a preview of the future. They've absolutely staked a big part of their development on this. It's been a huge undertaking, and Facebook is going to make sure people use this in the long run. And you'll see here just some examples from what Facebook is offering as good things to search on graph search. Photos of friends, restaurants nearby, games my friends play, that kind of useful social information. Graph search uses natural language processing. So you can actually type things in conversational, right now in conversational English, but eventually in conversational any language from around the world. And so it's not only easy to use when people are on mobile devices, but this natural language searching is really intended for the future of wearable computing. It's very easy to initiate these searches on a smartwatch or on a Google Glass or things like that because you talk to it in conversational language instead of more computer-like terms. This is something that Google has also implemented in their latest search algorithm, which they call Hummingbird. It's made to be mobile first. It also uses natural language processing, just like graph search. Probably the first time Facebook has arrived at a search feature before Google did. And also has some interesting features around authorship, where you can show for a particular piece of content actually the face of the person who wrote it and actually demonstrate who that individual is within a company that's responsible for this content, which is supposed to make it more engaging but also make it look more social. Right, so much like Facebook is getting into Google's layout in terms of search terms and search results, Google is borrowing from Facebook's layout in terms of putting faces and names of friends that are following a brand front and center on that search results page. Twitter, not going to be left out, actually quite active in releasing pretty disruptive new ad technologies all the time. They have keyword targeting in Twitter timelines, which is a mouthful to say. They call it KTT. But the basic idea here is to have always-on Twitter ad campaigns where you can buy permanently a set of keywords to advertise against. So right now, your Twitter team may not talk to your search team at all, but if they're going to do this type of advertising, they have to. Right? Who's going to know the right keywords to buy against? The team that's been buying keywords for the last 10 years. Who's going to know the right kind of messages to deliver against those keywords? Again, the team that's been buying those words for the last 10 years. So here they have this example. If someone says, I'm going to my Miami, we're going to have an always-on tweet that then appears. So, right, something that's coming to Madrid, we might want to show them tweets relevant to this conference we're at, maybe hotel rooms, maybe restaurants, nightclubs, taxi services, right? So it's very obviously, spur of the moment useful tweets to drive conversion, right? They're trying to get out of this brand engagement and more into direct response advertising, like search does. They also, of course, offer sponsored listings in Twitter search. So again, if people are searching particular keywords, as opposed to mentioning keywords, you can put your Twitter profile front and center there as paid placement. So again, just like you would expect to do with search, we can now do on Twitter. And so for those of you who are budgeting, you really may want to start to consider having one shared budget that operates between Facebook, Twitter, and Google, Yahoo, Bing, all the other search engines, because they'll be buying the same keywords. And you should be buying whatever's cheapest to convert on a given day. You shouldn't really worry about which platform it's coming from. And so it's important to make sure those teams are working together. Now, since most people haven't used graph search, I was just going to show you kind of a little bit of what it looks like, what the experience is actually like for users, so you can start to think about how your brands, your companies might participate. So, the good stuff. You search for photos of your friends. Here are photos. It looks awesome, right? Really easy. Everyone's on Facebook to look at photos. This is a great starting point. You may also search for things like friends of my friends who are single. In this case, Facebook, if you're me, will show you only hot guys. If anyone needs some single hot guys, let me know. But I'm sure you can use the refine this search drop down on the right to choose men and women, people who are in relationships versus people who are single, who they work for, where they live, all this kind of stuff. So we think for users, there's obvious use cases there, right? And once they start to search for people this way, they're going to start to search for other things as well, right? So this is where it starts for the users: photos, friends and friends that are single, people I might want to ask about a job, that kind of stuff. But it's going to obviously go on to other topics. So if you're traveling, like I travel a lot, you may in fact be curious about restaurants your friends have visited in that town. You might actually say, I'd rather trust my friends than TripAdvisor or Yelp or any other site that has restaurant reviews. So here, you'll see the search results look just like something you'd expect to get out of a Bing or a Google, right? You've got the names of these restaurants, you've got a map where you can filter down, you can choose different cities, you can choose different categories. So again, really valuable for users, great social proof, and something that brands, obviously, if you're in the restaurant business or you're in the hotel business, you want to be involved in, right? Here's an example of the hotels I've visited all over the world. And if you are a friend of mine and you're going on holiday, this may well be the first place you want to look for hotels, because then you can just call me up, ask me what I thought, get all sorts of details that are harder to find elsewhere on the internet. Some of this is still a little clunky. So here we have a castle in London called Thornbury Castle, and you'll see on the results, again, sorry for the blurriness, there are 3 different Thornbury castles that are listed. Facebook's actually undergoing a major effort right now to clean up the data set so that the results get better and better. And they're using actually the people who use the platform to help do that. So sometimes when you do a graph search, you'll find 2 results like this, and it'll pop up a question for you as a user that says, hey, are these the same thing, Thornbury Castle and Thornbury Castle? And by getting those real users to review it, they get a really clean, really improved data set over time. And of course, because it's still new, the natural language processing routinely doesn't work today. You know, it's not done yet. It will be eventually, though. And you know, we don't need to worry about that so much as marketers. That's their problem to fix. But you know, I was searching for people who like the same restaurants as Erin Gilly. That's my wife. She's on Facebook. She has a lot of Facebook friends. I thought this would be a really, you know, interesting search. And it doesn't work yet. But you know, all this kind of stuff is coming soon. So still a little bit clunky. And there's also this sort of interesting stalker aspect of it, because it used to be on Facebook that there was a lot of privacy by obscurity, as we called it. It was very hard to find people if you didn't know their name, if you weren't already friends with their friends. They were very hard to find. Graph search makes it very easy to find people you don't know. You know, in this example, since I have the guys on the other slide, I have single women over 33 years old, right? I've just typed this in the graph search. I'm not friends with any of these people, and it's returning me millions of people all over the world who are single and over 33 years old that may not want to hear from me. And I think a lot of Facebook users don't realize how much more public this has made the platform. And one of the things you can search by are things that people have liked. And I think especially in the early days of Facebook, people were really inclined to just like sort of stupid things that they thought were funny. They might like something while they were, you know, out drinking with their friends, and then it would just kind of go away and never appear again. But today, it's not very easy to find people that way, sometimes with embarrassing results. So again, as marketers, not a big deal, but it's important that we understand what the users are experiencing in this new paradigm. And also as people, we probably want to think about this. So here is this example. I am typing in divorced women who like sex. The autofill that Facebook is actually recommending to me, right? I haven't even typed this, is, you know, divorced women who like female sex workers, divorced women who like bathroom sex. So all sorts of stuff that people may not want to be found in these categories. And certainly when I selected it from the drop-down, this first woman does not want my attention, right? It's pretty obvious from that photo. But with graph search, I can go find her, send her a message, all this kind of stuff that I couldn't do in the past. And so, you know, that can have somewhat humorous and embarrassing outcomes for some people. But it can also be quite serious. So I don't know if everyone knows Femin, this sort of radical feminist protest group. They're located in France, but they have followers all over the world. They came from Ukraine. And in Tunisia, it's an illegal organization. People have been arrested for joining the protests. And here you can search for women from Tunisia who like Femin and find thousands of women who probably don't realize how easy it is now with graph search to find them. They probably think only their friends know what they like on Facebook, but in fact, people like me who've never met them from England can easily find them. So that's interesting. Again, for marketers, not a big deal, but just something to keep in mind as this world of Facebook changes. So, getting back to the actual business stuff, which we're here to learn about, right? So, what do I do now? What comes later? So, I'm just assuming everyone's super convinced that graph search is a big deal, Twitter keyword targeting is a big deal. What am I going to do to help my company, do better marketing in this new world? So, first of all, we think this is going to be big for the whole funnel. Awareness, consideration, and purchase. Throughout that entire journey, having information about what my friends are buying, what establishments my friends go to is very convincing. It comes with a lot of credibility, and it's a big deal, right? So as marketers, we want to make sure we're visible in these results. So first and foremost, populating your metadata. So if you come from a company that has physical locations, maybe you're in retail, hospitality, travel, restaurants, fast food, cafes, whatever you do that has physical locations, it's really important that every location has a Facebook location that people can like, that people can check into. Originally, Facebook was pushing every brand to have one big global brand page, right? If you were Starbucks, you're supposed to have one page with 26 million fans. Inputted for every single physical spot you have. Because it allows people to like that particular branch and recommend it and tell their friends they're there, which is great for organic sharing, but also is going to increase your likelihood of showing up in the graph search results. So again, the users aren't really using graph search that much today, but it's a great opportunity for us as marketers to get ahead of the game and make sure we're set up properly with the correct pages in the system, and we have likes, we have check-ins, we have recommendations, so that when users start using it a lot on the mobile app, you're showing up at the top of that list and not your competitors. Here's an example. For those who have never done a Facebook recommendation, it's just right there on the brand page. You can give a star rating to a restaurant or a hotel or whatever, and leave a comment. And those star ratings, the averages, then go into the search results page. And so it's a great opportunity to actually not only set up the page in the system, but maybe you can train your staff, train the people who work the checkout counters. If someone says, wow, I had a great meal here today, or someone said, wow, I'm so excited about the dress I just bought, train the people who work for you to say, hey, recommend this on Facebook then, come like this particular branch. We'll give you great deals or something like that, right? Some excuse for people to come like your particular locations to put you up in the metadata. And it's all about encouraging these offline customers to connect on their mobile device, right? Because everyone has Facebook on their phone. You don't have to wait for them to go home and hope they leave a review or anything like that. You can say to them, hey, check in right now. Hey, like us right now. Just do it on your phone. Thanks a lot. And hey, if you're running a restaurant or a bar, you can give them a free drink, whatever it is. Some special deal to encourage it, because it's going to get you a lot more play in Facebook graph search down the line. Here is an example of, again, restaurants my friends have visited. And I want to point out that I am a really, really extreme example of Facebook use. Right? So I worked in social media, which I've done for the last 8 years. Professionally, I'm friends with a lot of people who work at Facebook, right? So they check in everything. I spent the last 10 years before London living in San Francisco, where everyone's on their mobile phones all the time, checking in everywhere. So I'm a really, really extreme example of overuse of social media, right? And even for me, the #1 restaurant in the entire world, in terms of my friends liking it, only has 27 friends. #2 only has 15 and 16, number 2 and 3, right? So any company that has a reasonable strategy for how to get people to like, how to get people to check in the store on a mobile device, should be at the top of this list fast, right? Out of my whatever it is, 500 Facebook friends, only 27 have checked into this top restaurant in the entire world, right? So easy to get on top of that if you're from a company that actually has some marketing budget, that has staff, that has ideas to get yourself up in these listings. And if you do it now, it's great because you have that reinforcing effect of people finding you more often, liking you more often, and continuing to kind of improve your listing over time. So really good snowball effect. Facebook is fond of saying they are 1% of the way there, right? 1% finished. And in the case of graph search, they're really only 0.5% finished. First and foremost, it still doesn't work in the mobile device. At the Q4 earnings call for Wall Street, Mark Zuckerberg talked about this at the end of last year. He said it's a major priority for them getting it working on a mobile device. They are a mobile-first company, and it's absolutely coming this year. So good news there for users actually caring, right? Most users access Facebook on their mobile phone these days, and so graph search being on a mobile device is incredibly important. especially because it's a lot more useful when it's tied to your location and you can actually search for the things near you, which is the perfect use case on a mobile device. The only reason it's taken so long is because they've had to categorize and index over 1 trillion pieces of unstructured content in terms of all the likes and check-ins and stuff like that, and then another 1 trillion pieces of content in terms of people's status updates and text posts. And 1 trillion pieces of content alone is more than any search engine has ever indexed. So this is a massive multi-year effort for them. But because it's such a big undertaking, and because Google makes $42 billion a year on search ads on Google AdWords, you know that Facebook is going to do whatever it takes to make these users care. And the usage will come. So my pitch today is definitely just get ahead of the game, not to worry about how to encourage people to actually use graph search. Facebook, of course, has announced that they will be doing paid search engine marketing on Facebook. They've been public about that from day one. So obviously you want your search ads team thinking about this today. So they have a strategy ready for tomorrow. They have budget set aside to test it, all that kind of stuff. You don't want to be caught flat-footed when the finally does launch. And of course, deeper product integration throughout the product, right? Fixing some of those clunky things I showed earlier is going to be really important. Some other hot tips for this new world of search plus social. You do want to publish at least once a day on Google+. We know you're not going to get much engagement. We know your customers don't really use Google+ that much. But if you are publishing at least once a day, you're eligible to have these larger search results coming up on the page, right? So H&M here, you actually see the recent post from Google Plus with this great graphical image. You see the number of followers they have on Google Plus as well, which is in the millions. And that gives you a lot more screen real estate and a lot more attention. So this is a place that people in this room who are social experts, who are doing all the publishing and content creation, can actually go out and help that search team. Right, so make friends, help them do this publishing on Google Plus, and really improve what your results look like on Google. You can also use this content to power display advertising. So again, this convergence of channels is happening fast and furious. So here's an example of a plus post ad, where you can put a display ad out on the Google Display Network, and here you'll see the post that Toyota has created on Google Plus being propagated out onto these other channels, and users can actually expand it, leave comments, see if their friends have commented, all that stuff, right there in the ad unit, without ever going to Google Plus. So again, we all know there's not a ton of usage in the Google Plus platform in their newsfeed, but this kind of stuff can be really valuable and perform really well. But again, only if you bring those search and social teams together, because you need the really good content and you need the really good targeting. Twitter, again, we showed those Twitter ads earlier. Your new Twitter strategy is really just your old search strategy from 10 years ago. It starts with conversion analytics, so we know if the stuff we're buying is actually working, especially in the e-commerce space, online retail, travel, anyone who has that direct response advertising. You got to make sure you have conversion analytics set up for Twitter. And it should, by the way, be the same analytics you're using for everything else, so you can compare apples to apples. You need a keyword strategy. The keywords that are working for you on Twitter should inform search. The keywords you use on search should inform Twitter. You need to do really good creative that's tied to the keywords. And then you need to have algorithmic bid optimization. Right? We want to put all these different channels in one bucket and buy the best performing ad we can for a given day, not worry about which channel that ad is on. Right? We don't want budget that's really set aside just for Twitter, another budget just for Facebook. We want one pool of money that we can move agilely back and forth when things are working better or worse. So again, this means integrating your search teams and your social teams. It means sharing that data and having one shared strategy across what used to be different teams within your organization. Adobe's done this, by the way, with a marketing effectiveness group that's kind of an overlay over all the different marketing teams that brings them together. But there's a lot of different ways people have accomplished this. So in terms of evolving your approach, again, this is just from our own personal experience. We went from sort of having these disparate teams to this hub and spoke model where the teams work together across channel and they're based more on the countries they're in or the product lines they're aligned to. We went from having different KPIs for the search team than we had for the social team than we had for the PR team. Now we have common KPIs and one reporting framework, right? So everyone talks about revenue, everyone talks about volume of conversation the same way using the same analytics. Again, we went from siloed tracking reports to common tracking reports, and we went from, in the social space, only measuring things like the volume of conversation, the amount of mentions, and sentiment, positive or negative, which in truth doesn't change that much, doesn't change that often. We went from measuring those to measuring business value and ROI. We'll talk about some of those numbers in a second, but ultimately what our executives care about is selling Adobe products. Sentiment is nice, buzz is nice, but the ROI is what they really care about. And so that was a big transition for us that has been completed in the last few years. So again, we want everyone in the room to be thinking about what does social mean for you and where does it meet search? Your approach to social may involve many different phases of your business, right? PR and communications, marketing and commerce, customer service, right? A lot of brands only do customer service and support on social media these days. They don't really think about these other aspects of social. Or some are out there looking for product innovation, user feedback. And I think search is best suited for integrating with this marketing and commerce end of what you're doing on social. So if you're not doing marketing and commerce on social, start doing it now, because everything you do on social in the future is going to cost money. And you're not going to be able to justify the money unless you're doing some marketing and commerce. And you're already probably doing search marketing, so make sure that's working together in one integrated team. At Adobe, we're big on analytics, right? We sell our own analytics solution. We are kind of obsessive about various forms of attribution, about predictive analytics, all types of analytics are very, very big inside our organization. But no matter how much of that focus, how much of a focus there is on data and analytics in your organization, it's really important as you go forward that you unify the data and the tracking you use across search, social, and display so that you have one source of truth. The last thing you want is a disagreement about a campaign that went really well as to what is responsible for the success. Who actually gets the revenue? Who gets the bonus? You need one source of truth that everyone mutually agrees on, and then you can move your budget in accordance with this one source of truth. Okay, we know the money came so much from search, so much from social, so much from display. That's where the conversions came from. So we're going to move our budget around according to those ratios, right? Really, really important, especially because your search agency and your social agency probably don't want to do this. Your search team and your social team may not want to do this, but they're going to have to, because that's definitely the future. These platforms converging, we need ways to have internal processes for every company that actually successfully deliver results in this new paradigm. So again, you want to go from listen, learn, action. So use your search keywords to inform your social content strategy. What's working for us on search? Let's walk down the hallway, tell the social team, and make sure they're trying the same things on social. But at the same time, let's do that the opposite direction. Social conversations are going to drive search equity, and they're going to enhance our understanding of what our users want to talk about, and maybe even show us new keywords we should be bidding on in search. And again, those long-tail keywords that are hard to find are often your best performers. And we're expecting that's going to be true in Facebook Graph Search and in Twitter KTT, just as it is in Google Search. So getting these teams together, using the data from search to improve what you do on social, and the data from social to improve what you do in search, really big deal. And so you also want to make sure that everyone has the right incentive structure, the right bonus structure, so they don't feel like they're competing against each other, but they feel like they're working together and you know, reinforcing each other's work in a really positive way. So that's it for the prepared stuff. Just to sum up, one, you want to connect Facebook to offline experiences to feed the metadata for graph search, and you want to do it now while no one else is doing it, so you can be unique, so you can be ahead of the game, and you can be at the top of those listings when the users arrive. Two, you need to bring together your search and social people, your search and social process and budgeting, and your search and social technology to have that one unified source of truth. And the reason it's so important to bring them together now is because we know social search engine marketing is coming. We know there's a potential fight for budget when that happens. And we know there's going to be this all-out war among Google, Facebook, and Twitter for the same ad dollars for years to come. So we want to set ourselves up today for what we can see very clearly coming in the near future that is a long-term trend that as marketers we all have to adapt to and make sure we're reflecting in our strategies. So thanks for listening. Happy to take a few questions if there's time. And also happy to stand around afterwards if people want to ask questions one-on-one. Thanks. And for those who are late, I'm Marc Blinder.